Barristers representing victims of Mohamed Al-Fayed say there are now 60 survivors and they have credible evidence of abuse.
The former Harrods and Fulham FC owner is accused of multiple sexual assaults after a BBC investigation was published last week, but with allegations stretching back decades and revelations that 19 women reported Al-Fayed to police whilst he was still alive. It's left many wondering why he wasn't ever prosecuted.
Right, well, we're delighted to welcome to the show this morning high-profile American attorney Gloria Allred. And Gloria represents a number of people in big high-profile cases with sexual harassment throughout the years. And she's representing multiple women who have pointed the finger at the former Harrods owner. Gloria, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Not at all. It's great to hear from you. I mean, so all of this is out in the open now. People will say he's innocent until proved guilty, but there's too many fingers pointing at him, are there not?
Well, I mean, we're talking about the court of public opinion when you're talking about that. And of course, people have a right to be presumed innocent unless and until they are convicted in a court of law. Having said that, in the court of public opinion, the BBC documentary had 20 victims who spoke there and, made allegations, serious allegations of rape, child sexual abuse, serial rape, sexual battery against Mohamed Al-Fayed. And I don't know if they're thinking that there's a certain number of people that have to come forward until women are going to be believed. How many women must come forward for them to be believed? And all I can say is Harrods themselves, in this at the end of the documentary, issued a statement by the new owners of Harrods who purchased it in 2010 that they do think that, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but they do think that there were a number of victims and they're ready to do what they call the right thing. And they're ready to compensate them. Having said that, we want meaningful accountability, not just, a few pennies, so to speak, thrown at them or provided to them. And I personally don't think anyone who is a victim should contact Harrods directly without an attorney. We know how the previous owners of Harrods treated or mistreated these very courageous victims. They didn't get any justice from Harrods when they worked there. They got injustice, sexual misconduct, and abuse against them. And they didn't get anywhere with the police either. Now we have more than 60 victims. How many do we have to have until even one woman is believed?
Totally agree, Gloria. I met the man on a number of occasions, and we talk about the previous owners and whatever. There only was one owner. He was the owner. He was the boss. What he said went. And you know what, Gloria? He was a creepy old git. He really was. There's no doubt. You look at him now and you think, how the heck did he get away with this for so long? That's the question.
And that's a very good question. And the answer is he used a series of threats against some of the victims, saying, if you tell anybody, we know where your family lives. If you tell anybody, there'll be consequences for you. If you tell anybody, you'll never work in London again. And also, if you tell anyone, you'll be terminated. And in fact, some of the women resisted his sexual advances. And sometimes he used violence against them to rape them, even though they said, no, we're trying to fight him and get away, which fortunately some did. So the fear was all over the other employees of Harrods who did know about it. Many did, but they were not going to risk their jobs in speaking out against what Mohamed Al-Fayed was doing. And he was doing it to many, many women, and not just at Harrods, also allegedly at the Ritz, which he owned in Paris, and even at the former home of the Duke of Windsor, which he purchased as his home. He was a serial predator. That's what I call him, a sexual predator a danger to women, and not, frankly, with all due respect, just a creepy old man, because I think he caused physical abuse to these victims, emotional abuse, financial harm, all kinds of harm. And
But
some of them
Gloria,
couldn't get another job, lost wages. This was a very serious, dangerous man.
but what is so unfortunate, I suppose, is that he's not here to answer any of these allegations. There won't be any criminal trial. He can't mount any sort of defence. So what we are talking about in terms of the women that you're representing is some kind of financial compensation. And it's interesting, you're talking about Harrods, the organisation, even though it's not owned by him or any of his family anymore, possibly stepping up and doing that. I'm interested that you're not pursuing perhaps his estate or his family, and I wonder why. And also, if there are questions, legal questions that can go to trial potentially, of why exactly the police, given the number of reported allegations that were made to the police in this country, was there corruption, for example, in the Metropolitan Police, and can there be something legally there?
We don't know why at this point. We don't know. They did not prosecute when a 15-year-old girl went to the police and also alleged that she had been sexually taken advantage of by Mohamed Al-Fayed. He reportedly also spoke to the police, denied it. I don't know what else he said, but then they didn't prosecute. How many others went to the police? We'll have to find out. But you mentioned the civil. We're seeking justice for these victims. And I always say it should never be too late to do the right thing for women or men who've been victimized. And that's what the new owners of Harrods should do. As I have said, we want deeds, not just words. And we want meaningful accountability. And I think it's, justice delayed is justice denied, as we often say, the legal profession in the United States. It has been delayed for so long for these women. And they have lived with the rage that has consumed some of them and emotional damage. And I think it's past due to give them some meaningful accountability in terms of
Gloria, just briefly, how long do you think it would take to sort this out, to get some sort of reconciliation with all of this?
I think that answer really is in the hands of Harrods. They say they want to compensate. I think this should be done not only as soon as possible, and they say they want to provide compensation in a speedy manner, but in a way that is going to be empowering to the women and recognizes how much harm, how much damage they have suffered when they were forced to work in a toxic, abusive, unsafe environment. This is a form of sexual harassment in many cases. And this is not what they expected. They wanted to be judged on their merits, not on whether or not they would have sex with him. So this is an opportunity for the women to be empowered, but they're only going to be empowered if Harrods steps up and steps up soon, to begin to analyze what happened to them, acknowledge what happened to them, and then be accountable to them. And that may take a little longer. It shouldn't have to take going to the court system, because they say they want to do the right thing. And we're going to have far more than the 60 cases. The barristers will have far more than that very soon, I believe, because, for example, I'm still getting calls.
Yeah.
There are many Americans, some from other countries who are calling me, many calling the barristers. And so let's do it sooner than later, and let's do it in a way that they are empowered and know that in a way that they're rewarded for their courage and speaking out, and they are believed.
OK, Gloria, we've got to leave it there. Sounds like you're going to be very, very busy. Thank you for giving us an insight into what's going on.
Keep us updated, won't you?
Thank you very much. Journey to justice.
Thank you very much. It's fascinating when you look back and you see pictures of people around Al-Fayed and how they react in the presence of someone with power. He owned Harrods. He had the power to make your life good or your life bad. and he was a creepy little
His own
toad.
personal story was explored quite a lot in The Crown, and how he was a child in Egypt when there was a royal visit, and he was really taken with royalty, British royalty, almost obsessed by it, and how actually the reason Princess Diana ever even met him was because the Queen kept swerving him because he kept buying seats to sit next to, according to The Crown, I don't know how true this is, but say at the Highland Games in Braemar or whatever, he'd paid all the money to get the top seat, and the Queen would always at the last minute sort of think, oh, I don't want to sit next to him, and so Diana would be sent a sort of a prize to keep him happy, and that's how he obviously ended up pushing his son towards her. I don't know how much truth there is in that, obviously, but it gave me a different sort of perspective into his whole life story. It's always awful. I think it's such a shame when somebody's died, they can't answer these cases.
No, it's
and
not a
there's so
shame
many
that he's as guilty as sin.
I know, but he should be punished for it rather than get to go to the grave having had a lovely life.
Yeah. I just think it's awful when you see the women who have been affected by this and the circumstances in which they were affected, and he got away with it. There we go.